6:31.
It's a go.
We're ready to go.
Yeah, I just turned it on. I just turned everything just
Turn
now.
the mics on, Keith.
There you go.
Can't hear? You can't hear, Keith? He's got his earpiece thing.
That's what I was gonna say.
Oh, yeah, because their mics are cut out until they start talking. It takes a second to.
Yeah, Amber,
There you go.
can you hear?
You got it.
Can you hear, Amber? No?
It's real staticky. I don't know, I'm sorry. Well, Deb leaves that one up here all the time. So I don't know if it's dead or if there's something wrong with it. I don't know. Sorry, Keith.
That's the only one we got?
Yeah, Deb keeps the others in her office.
All right.
I don't have any.
It is 6:33. I recognize a quorum, so I will call the meeting to order. If you please stand, we'll say pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item on our agenda is approval of minutes. Everyone had a chance to read the minutes? Any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, I'll call for a motion.
Move to approve minutes as sent.
We have a motion to approve as sent. Do we have a second? Second. Seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next on our agenda is approval of agenda. Any additions or corrections to our agenda? No? If not, I'll call for a motion.
Move approval.
We have a motion for approval. Do you have a second?
I second.
Michelle seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. First thing on the new business, we have a public hearing for a petition to rezone PUD 2404, but it has been asked to be continued. Excuse me, 01 has been asked to be continued. Does that give them enough time? Okay, because they're granted at one continuancy automatically if they ask for it.
They requested.
So we need a motion to continue this to August 12th.
Move to continue to August 12th.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next on the new business is public hearing for petition to vacate replat RP 2410. John Larison, Hollow Engineering, on behalf of David Krager is requesting to vacate existing Lot 1 and replat it as Lot 1A and 1B in Burns Minor Subdivision. The property is located at 1104 West Bunker Hill Road in Monroe Township, and it is zoned ag.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's his assistant. Rhonda's his assistant. So you don't need to call her.
evening, I'm John Larison from Holloway Engineering. I'm here tonight on behalf of David Krager. He's the owner of the property at 1104 West Bunker Hill, 1104 West Bunker Hill Road. David owns what basically is Lot 1 in the Burns Minor subdivision. That is a previous minor plat performed by Holloway Engineering in June of 2010. That survey divided 14 acres into 2 lots. And tonight we're here for Mr. Krager, the owner of Lot 1, right at 11 acres, and he would like to further divide that lot number 1 into 2 parcels, both 5+ acres in size. And his son is going to build a home on that, Lot 1B. Lot B is more or less 5.5 acres off the north end of Lot 1, and it includes 150-foot, more or less, wide hilltop area that runs along the north line of that lot, and that is the spot where he would like to build his house. I included a topo map for you. The topo map shows that hilltop there just north of the lake, and I've put an X in the general area on that hilltop where the house will be located. We've also included a 50-foot wide access and utility easement for driveway and utilities. And item 2 in the dedication outlines the responsibility for the construction and maintenance of that driveway. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Mr. Larson? No questions? All right, Mr. Larson, thank you.
Thank you.
We have no one else to speak for support. Ms. Parker, would you like comments? Any question? Any question for Ms. Parker? We have no one signed up in opposition. So I will call for a motion.
I would move to approve petition RP-24-10.
Do we have a second to approve the vacate and replat?
I second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Have you got a copy of the plat? She's got, okay. Move on to our next item. It's a public hearing on petition to minor plat MIP 2405. Eric Browning of ARE Surveying on behalf of 3 Loan LLC is requesting a 6-acre minor plat. The 48-acre parcel is generally located in the northwest corner of Robb Hill and Gold Hollow Roads in Clay Township and is zoned ag.
Thank you.
You got too much paperwork.
You could actually take time to read it.
You guys want me to shut down the lights so you can see the property? This isn't the PowerPoint show yet.
Thank-
Okay.
Go ahead, would you state your name and your address, please?
Good evening, my name is Eric Browning. I'm with ARE Surveying Consultants. Our address is 129 South 8th Avenue, Beech Grove, Indiana. I'm here representing Mr. Glenn Sheck. He was the person that handed out the information with 3 Loan LLC. He's the owner of the property. Is it too quiet? Is it too quiet? How's that? Is that better?
That's
All
better.
right, I apologize.
Mike's not working right.
Yeah, I thought I saw you gesturing towards it earlier, so, anyway. Yes, we're here to take a piece of property that is just north of the intersection of Goat Hollow Road and Rob Hill Road, just off of Goat Hollow Road itself, into 6 parcels, ranging in size from approximately 7 acres to almost 10 acres. The access to the property will be through an existing gravel drive that runs through the length of the property that actually connects to Goat Hollow Road through an easement that's already existing. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure what else you'd like from me at the moment. In terms of questions, I'm open for questions, obviously. You just had that information there. That is additional information having to do with the, some concerns that have been brought forward about the property having to do with the fact that there is a dam upstream of it, on the property above it, or north of it, and also that there's a creek that runs through the middle of the property. What we're wanting to do about the issue with the creek is a couple of things. First off, we want to make the setback for the properties that are on the west side of the road to be at least 200 feet off of the actual road. That should place it far enough west so that is beyond the floodplain or the flat part of the bottom of the valley where the creek runs through right now. And so that would just be on those 4 parcels that are on the west side of the road. The 2 on the east side, frankly, they don't have enough room for 200 feet setback. They'd be on top of the hill at that point. Also, in concert with that, we also want to make a restriction that all proposed home sites have to be a minimum of 33 feet higher than the top of bank of the actual creek and the location of the, across from the location of the proposed building. That's in order to make sure that there's enough height there. There's concern about this dam. This is a high-risk dam, they call it, and as such, there's a concern that, you know, if it had a catastrophic failure, that a wall of water would come through. And it's believed that 33 feet would be more than sufficient to make sure that a massive collapse, that the water flow would still be lower than the location of the proposed house. And beyond that, obviously, we need home sites in the county. Obviously, everything's growing crazy. I'm in Indianapolis area, and but we do a lot of work down here, and that's for a reason, because a lot of people want the work to be done down here. So let me take a look.
Okay.
I think that pretty much covers it. I mean, it's an existing piece of property. We just wanted to divide it into smaller pieces, so that way we can put home sites on it. And the access, like I said, through an existing gravel road, and the utilities. Utilities would be with septic and well on each site, so.
It is wells, it's not city water out there.
Pardon?
It's not rural Morgan County out there, it's city, wells. Have you seen the inundation map from DNR?
The which,
The map that shows if the dam would fail? how
oh,
much it-
yes, I did see it, yes. Mhm. Yeah, that's the approximate, that's where the 200-foot comes from, the 200-foot offset on the west side to get us past the limits of that inundation limits that are
the
shown on
east
the map.
side
there.
also.
Or, pardon, the west side of the road, I'm sorry.
Any questions? Mr. Mitchell?
I drove that tonight. That is my area up there, very well my area. And you don't even show the creek on your diagram here. And I drive that bus, I'm on a school bus, and that creek gets very high. Very high. Why don't you show that on your diagram here?
Now, what do you mean on, which diagram are you referring to?
You can show a creek that comes down and goes across under uphill road all the way down to 67, that big creek in 67. You don't show that, and that creek gets out of banks. Talking about.
Well, we can only go by what basically with the FEMA. And according to FEMA, it's not in a flood zone. I mean, the only thing would be like flash flooding, which is kind of, excuse me, I'm sorry, Nick, get closer to the speaker. The thing would be something like flash flooding or something like that, and that's, I mean, you can set your own rules on that, but I don't know of any that I can follow that I can point to and say this would make it safe from that. Since it's not in the 100-year floodplain per se, I understand that, and that's actually a very good guide to say, don't build within that shaded area. But that was the intent of the 200-foot setback that we're referring to. I mean, if you wanted some sort of language that made that more explicit or referred to this document or something like that, I suppose that could be done.
Well, I was driving back here tonight, I seen the driveway that you guys, is a private driveway that you're talking about. You go back up to the lake, you can't get to the lake because that's private property back there after so far back there. And I know that lake doesn't lean all that because a lot of water comes off of Red Day Road and some off of Goat Holler comes into that creek, comes down through there. And it gets very high. I'm not going to say it stays in the banks all the time, but I think, and I couldn't see back in the fields very far because it was all growth up, you can't see it. But I drove in on the backside where you're trying to come up, somebody's trying to come up the Rob Hill Road, and I could see a pretty good indication when I looked across to the right there. That all looked low to me because there's a couple ponds back there that I seen the person coming off the Rob Hill Road. Even though I couldn't see Redway Road, I couldn't see much of a fact, just talking about building on it, coming in off of Goat Hollow Road.
Are you talking about building sites, you mean along the road?
You're talking about coming off of Goat Hollow Road, into your building site back on the left side. I could not see any banks where you said it was high enough to build because that creek, I didn't see anything where it was possible to build into there.
All right, on the east side, once you get into the property, I mean, once you get past the south property line, you get into the property. On the right-hand side of the road, or the east side of the road, you basically go right up the hill, up those two parts. And then on the other side, you go down to where the creek is and then back up the floodplain to Sturt Hill. What we're referring to is that entire basically bottom area is the area that we're talking about not permitting any construction to begin. If people want to build, I mean, I'm not exactly, as long as they build things to within your specs, I mean, I'm not sure what else can be done. I mean, I understand what you're saying, you're concerned about that, but it's not like we're putting in a 100-unit subdivision or something. We're talking like 6 more people that come in and out every day off of a gravel road onto Goat Hollow Road, which isn't exactly the most popular road in the world. So that's kind of my thought on the matter. But I understand your concerns, and like I said, especially if you're concerned about the inundation issue, I'm sure we could alter some language on that.
Or a trustee in that township.
Okay.
And I've got some people talking about that. That's their concerns in the area too.
Sure. I understand.
Any other questions for Mr. Browning? Do you have any maintenance agreement on that road?
For the road itself, yes, private road utility agreement, it should have been within the packet.
Part of that package held at hand?
I believe it was the packet that Laura handed out.
Long ago. I didn't see him on the plat. I didn't see him on the plat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
All right.
Any other questions? Thank you. Glenn Shake, would you like to speak? State your name and your address, please.
Glenn Shake, 2801 Fairview Place, Greenwood, Indiana, 46142. I don't have anything necessarily to speak, just more of a way to answer any questions that anybody might have that weren't answered already.
You're the owner of the property? Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Shake.
Thank you.
Vance Parrish, would you like to speak?
Talk right into the mic for me.
It may be too tall for it.
You can pull it down, Vance. There you go.
Vance Paris, my name. Your question about the ditch coming down through there and the elevations. If you go up the lane going back in there and you look to the left on lot 6, 4, 3, and 1, that whole flat area is, I mean, there's a creek in there, but it's over 200 feet to the embankment. And I went in there and shot that, and then at that time and point, there's building sites that come up on that hill. And if you had to, you could build all the way on top of the hill, which would be probably 80 feet out of the bottom of the ditch, if you would require that. But I've shot elevations from there to where the road would come in and start up. And you can't see it from the road. It is rode up way too bad. But I shot the elevations on that. It's way more than high enough to build a house at 33 feet above. Not,
Move over and talk in front of the mic a little bit. Move over with the mic and pick you up.
yeah.
Okay, now you can talk to me.
Sorry. There's plenty, because I've run dozers over it and everything else to find out that that elevation will work, and there's plenty of building sites back there. You can't build in the bottom at all. I agree with you on that. But the ones on the east side of the road, all those building sites are clear on top of the mountain. And I don't know what field you were referring to. Are you referring to, as you go back, the road that was put in off of Rob Hill Road?
I went back at 2, and there's
Yeah.
a big swamp back there. Before you turn to the left, go up the hill.
If you go back the road that was, the new roadway that was put in there, the ground to the right of that doesn't belong to this property anyways. That's part of the Lear ground. So where you were talking about the 2 existing ponds that were in there, that has nothing to do with this property whatsoever. So that goes back, and then you turn left, and you go that way back up on the hill. You can see where we turned it to the left and took it up there. That building site's high enough right there to build on. I don't know, we stopped a stone before you got all the way there. But all the ones that come off of Goat Hollow Road and down that lane are way more than high enough and way more than the 200 feet from the existing road. And I personally shot the elevations on it. So,
Any other questions for Vance, Mr. Parrish? Nope. Thank you. Ms. Parker, you got anything from your staff? I will move on to opposition. Bailey, I believe you have a PowerPoint you would like to present. Mr. Bailey is the person who owns the High Hazard Dam. So, can you do it within about 5 minutes, Mr. Bailey?
I believe so, yeah, I might need an extra 30 seconds, but that should work.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, that works.
That works? Can you, you'll have to talk directly
All
to
right.
that
Yeah, the
mic.
mic's
That
bad.
work?
Yeah.
All right. So my name is Justin Bailey. I'm here to represent my family. We're the owners of the lake and high hazard dam located at 6130 Goat Hollow Road here in Martinsville, and we're here objecting and in opposition to the minor plat. So we're here to voice our concerns about the proposed housing development on this adjacent property below the dam and give a brief overview, history, and set of concerns that we have with this development. So we see our primary duties as responsible dam owners is to, one, maintain the dam and to inform people when potential risks arise. Next slide, please. So just a very brief history. Dam was constructed in the mid-1950s, and with some modifications made to it in the 1970s. Our family has lived here for over 40 years. My grandparents, George and Paula Bailey, with my father, Mark Bailey, constructed our home in 1983. This is a quote I want to draw your attention to from our most recent 2024 dam inspection report, which details our most severe weather events of the last 20 years since we've lived here, with the most significant event occurring in 2008 that I'll return to in a moment. So I'm highlighting these details because I want to demonstrate that our dam has held up for 75 years. When this event occurred in 2008, this is a 4-acre body of water at the Victor Conservation Lake Dam that broke and flooded into our lake. Our dam still held up, and so I'm drawing attention to that to show that we're confident in the dam's structural integrity and our ability to maintain it. Next slide, please. So here's the definition of a high hazard dam, and I want to emphasize here that the hazard level is not tied to the likelihood of failure, but is solely on the potential for the dam to have downstream consequences if a failure were to occur. So we take our role as dam owners very seriously. We're obligated ethically and legally to be cautious and concerned for the lives and property of others, and we also have what is called an incident and emergency action plan in place that was developed in 2015 by the Burke engineering firm. Next slide, please. So here's some photos of the flood event in 2008, which was caused when the Victor Conservation Dam broke directly to the north of our property, down the center of the dam. This is, again, a 4-acre body of water that entered into our lake in a matter of 30 minutes. Next slide, please. Here's a view of our lake during the flood. The left photo there shows our driveway submerged, which prevented us from getting out for a few days. On the right is water overflowing the emergency spillway. Next slide, please.
Is it that one or another one?
That's that one.
That's correct, yeah. Here are more photos just showing the route the water took down the driveway and toward that tributary we've been discussing in the direction of the Three Loan LLC property. Next slide. And here's the erosion and damage looking down the driveway. The photo on the right is showing the water exiting the principal spillway, just to illustrate just how much water continues to flow out of this lake after a significant flood event like this. Next slide, please. Here are some current photos of what the dam looks like in the lake. Next slide, please. Here's the principal spillway outlet on the left that has been reinforced with boulders. On the right is the repaired auxiliary spillway per the recommendations from Banning Engineering. Next, yeah, that's slide there. All right, so our concerns. The image on the left shows the 3 Loan LLC tax parcel overlaid with the flood inundation map that you have. This model shows where water would likely flow if our dam were to fail. On the right is one of the proposed plats, showing the 4 plots to the left of the current easement and 2 on the right side of the easement, all of which are partially located in this flood inundation zone. So this is essentially why all this funding and work was enacted, so we can all plan ahead and do our best to ensure that folks in the future are not harmed. Next slide, please. So short and long-term concerns. Short term, we're concerned about the amount of traffic along our driveway from heavy equipment with the potential for obstructing traffic, damage to the driveway. We're worried about the installation of new utilities that could damage the existing utilities that run along the easement. Long-term, we've just got a lot of questions. Where exactly are these homes going to be located? Will they be located in this inundation zone? Is it wise to develop here? Are there alternative access routes that can be considered that won't be in the inundation zone? If the development does occur, we want to make sure prospective buyers are aware of the high hazard dam. Regular seasonal storms still occur. Any development of driveway and utilities off the main easement, cross-cutting this tributary may still be impacted by the seasonal weather flooding, which we do not want to be held liable for. Okay, so the main point we want to make is that our family is here for the long term, whereas the developers are here for the short term, interested in selling plots as quickly as possible and exiting the scene, and not having to worry about the long-term consequences of developing in an area that seems risky and unsuitable location for new houses. And we also want to make sure that prospective buyers are aware of the dam and the seasonal flooding that could impact their driveways and utilities. Last slide, please. So we feel that this development has the potential to put prospective buyers at risk, and urge everyone that is involved in the process of zoning and evaluating this development takes this information into consideration and has in mind the long-term consequences that may arise from this housing development. Thank you for your time and consideration.
How often do you have to have that dam inspected? Every 4 years, 5 years? What is that?
It's recommended every 2 years, I believe.
Every 2 years?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember what the high hazard was. Now, do you inspect that yourself? You have an engineer do
No,
it?
we're obligated to hire a private firm to do it.
Firm to
Yeah,
come do it?
so this most recent was by Hydrozone Engineering, Brian McKenna.
Okay. I saw you had Burke do your first one.
Sorry, say again.
Did Burke do your first one, or was that for DNR?
No, before that, I believe we had Banning a few times, we've had Burke a few times,
Okay.
and, yeah,
Okay.
Hydrozone.
When you showed that road, is that a county road or is that a private road that you showed along the edge of the lake?
That's a private road. You're talking the easement? Yeah.
Now, is that an easement for this subdivision?
Yes, yes. Sure.
You
It's
use
also our
It's
private
also for
driveway.
you have it also for your parcel, correct?
Say again, sorry.
You have it for your parcel also, that easement? Is that how you access your house and your lake?
Yes, correct, yes.
Have you got it, can you get out a different direction?
No, not presently, no.
Okay. So your dam didn't top in '08,
No,
but the one above you did?
correct, yeah.
It broke, it busted though,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, that first image showed that.
That first slide?
Yeah, yeah.
Has that dam been rebuilt, or?
No, legally, they cannot.
Okay, okay.
So there's nothing stopping that Victor Lake from coming on down through there? How long is that, how long? Is Victor Lake dried?
Yes,
It's dry.
correct, yeah.
So all that water comes in through there from up above it, still gonna hit your lake anyway?
Correct, yeah, upstream
Without
from
no
there.
restrictions, no holdback and nothing, it's going, all that up above Red Day, up from Red Day Road all the way down through is gonna hit that, your dam without any things to slow it down.
Correct, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and there's tons of drainages back there in the hollow, so.
That's a long ways, a lot of water to come.
Any other questions for Mr.
How
Bailey?
many houses are there now? You have a home there. How many other homes are up there?
Just the one currently.
Just one home?
Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions? Ooh. Wake us up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Jackie Bailey, would you like to speak? We'd ask you to keep your comments to about 3 minutes if you could,
I'm
please.
going to try. Okay. My son's handing out some information from Jeff Healy. He was from Banning Engineering, and he did inspect our dam. From Jeff Healy, he inspected our dam a couple times.
You're fine, you're
Okay.
fine. You might pull that mic down a little further, maybe.
Like
Right
that?
there, yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. Okay. My husband, Mark, and I are concerned, and we do object and oppose to this subdivision. We have taken pride in our property and home. When it comes to our dam, we stay in compliance, and we maintain, mow, make improvements as needed. We follow the safety guidelines that are set by the Incident Emergency Action Plan set by the DNR in conjunction with the county. There's a flow chart with names, phone numbers of officials, and updated every year, right down to the National Weather Service. As responsible dam owners, our priority is to inform. When we observe lake levels rising in cases of extreme rain events, we are to call in and report what level of emergency we determine we think we are experiencing as provided in the action plan. There are 3 levels. Level 3 is incident slowly developing, 2, emergency event rapidly developing, and 1 is emergency event failure, dam failure, flash flood. Unfortunately, I do have some experience calling in a few of these over the years. I am sure many of you here today remember the floods that occurred in 2008, as my son Justin briefly detailed. On June 7th, 2008, when we woke up in the morning, not realizing what was happening, we were on the porch and heard a large rush of water, and the Victor Conservation Dam broke. And their lake was emptying into ours. We saw tables, benches, canoes, jet ski, and debris swirled around like in a vortex in a matter of 30 minutes. We were trapped as the water exited over the driveway into the auxiliary spillway as it is designed to do. We were unable to get out until water subsided. It happened so fast, you just can't imagine what water can do. I called 911. This was before the emergency action plan was developed. And they told me that they couldn't do anything if no one was physically injured or needed an ambulance. We were told that several dams had broken in the county and they were overwhelmed with rescue operations and to call back if medical assistance was needed. It wouldn't have mattered. The easement and driveway that is on the property wanting to be developed was flooded, so no one was getting in or out for several hours. Another minor event occurred on July 12th in 2015. It had been raining for 2 days. We woke up and the second night of rain, after the second night of rain, we observed around 9 a.m. Water was just starting to go around the auxiliary spillway. And it's in place to take the pressure off of the primary spillway. I determined it was a level 3 emergency, called the head of the EMA, Jeff Neal at the time, and reported it, and I would keep him updated of its progress. Now, if the 6 homes were in this dam flood inundation area, not only would they be getting a deluge of water coming from the primary spillway at a high rate of speed, which it does with any heavy rain, and goes directly into the stream that runs in the middle of the proposed subdivided property, plus the added water from the auxiliary spillway coming down the ditch that also leads to this stream through the property heading to the White River. It is more likely the driveways, yards, and possibly homes would have damage. I noted by 9:44 the water was beginning to recede, and then by 10:50 was no longer running around the auxiliary spillway. But with heavy rains, there is still a lot of water running down the valleys and drainages into the streams below. The principal spillway will still put out a high volume of water for several days. If this situation had escalated, would EMA have had enough time to warn the 6 homes of the danger the property was in? Also, it's worth considering that even if the homes are not in the direct path of the inundation zone, their driveways and utilities will be, and damage to that infrastructure may cause them to be trapped and not able to get out for a while. No EMS or fire would be able to reach them, loss of electricity or water because the lines would have been run underground and may have been damaged by the water, and cell service in the hollow is spotty. So you see, it's not just fearing the dam failing, which we strongly believe is well-maintained and unlikely to fail. It's also how it's designed to protect it from failing. Unfortunately, the water surrounds an earthen dam, and wet and swampy areas are all around it. Building homes would be a mistake and risky. The safety of prospective buyers and their property should be number one. You need to ask yourselves, would you want to build a house and live with your family at the base of a high-hazard dam in a dam failure inundation area? If approved, we will continue to strive to follow all rules and regulations set by the county and DNR to keep everyone safe as we can. But we can't control Mother Nature. Putting 6 homes in a flood inundation zone below a high-hazard dam strikes us as risky. We feel if we continue to be in compliance and do our job to keep this dam as safe as possible, that we should not be held responsible for any future events. Well, on June 7, 2008, I never thought I would ever see a dam fail, but I did. And it did cause thousands of dollars of damage to our property. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got a question.
That's all right.
Yes.
On that road, back to your
Well,
house.
it's, right now, it's an easement now, and it became, as soon as the previous owner sold the property, it became permanent and runs with the land now.
So anybody can use that road now, the way I understand it now. Anybody can use that road to get to their property?
Well, yes, if they, yeah, if
Okay,
they
so
build,
you had an agreement with the previous owner to put that road in,
yes,
and now then that's sold, so that took care of the road.
right. We
Okay.
took care of it, and we will continue to take care of it. That's the way that the easement agreement was with the original owners.
I seen a couple of years ago when the 67 tore up all their asphalt, you guys got a lot of stuff back through there.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know the area quite well, Mike.
Yes, yes, yes. When there's probably still, from the flood, you know, we did have an asphalt driveway from where our property began all the way up around the auxiliary spillway, but we decided not to put asphalt back because we didn't want that to happen. So there's probably asphalt from our driveway still back on that property when it shot out.
I understand. I was back a day, I seen it all the way back to the dam. I didn't go by your private property line.
Yeah.
You had to cross the road, but I
Yeah.
was all the way back to it. The dam looked very well maintained. I
Yeah,
will
it
give you
is.
credit for that.
Yes.
The literature that you passed out indicates that there should be a minimum of 25 feet above the grade of where the water goes. He has proposed 33 feet as his lowest elevation. Does that not worry you, or you think are you worried about your liability or what he's doing?
No, what we're worried about is that when there's heavy rains and, or heavy rain event, and water comes out of our spillway at a high rate of speed, and it runs through the middle of that property in that stream, water goes everywhere. You know, it doesn't stay in the lines of that inundation area. It goes everywhere. So what we're worried about is that if they have driveways that run through that inundation area, it's going to cause damage to their driveways, no matter what. It's going to cause problems for them to get in and out if they come off of the easement to get to their homes in the back of the lot. Does that make sense?
Dam that would probably be a high hazard if anybody paid attention, but I don't worry about that because they're below me and they meet all these expectations of a minimum of 25 feet and they're 33 feet. I guess my answer to that would be tough luck. You didn't build a very good driveway. That's just my thoughts on it. But they've met all the requirements that you put in here of 33 feet, over 25 feet. And asked to approve this, Mrs. Parker wants several conditions, which they've met to my thoughts. That's all.
Okay.
How large is your spillway, the main spillway? Is it a pipe that comes through the dam?
Yes, there's a pipe that comes out.
6 inches or so?
What is it? 18?
18? And then you armored the emergency spillway? Is it? Yeah, come on up so we can hear you.
He knows more about that stuff than I do.
I think he's on the,
Interesting.
yeah, you might,
Are you Jeremy?
no, he's Mark. You're Mark, right? Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, the auxiliary spillway, it actually flows over it's lower than the top of the dam, of course, by probably 3.5 feet.
Yeah.
And then it flows over into a ditch and goes down a pipe, and then, which is 18-inch pipe also.
Okay.
And then it's also a wide area of probably 30 feet wide that can take that water you've seen in the videos where that monument was. So it can actually come around.
Yeah, it comes around the edge of the
So
dam
it
and then
comes
down
around,
to the
it
toe.
comes around at like 3 feet deep, 30 feet wide,
Yeah.
so,
Is it armored all the way down? Is it asphalt? Is it stone?
well, it's stone
On the
now, it used to
emergency.
be asphalt,
Oh,
but,
okay.
it
That's the
got
old
washed out.
drive?
It just peeled it right out,
Yeah, it will. Water is amazing what it'll do.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you. County trustee? That's fine. Pamela Rogers?
I am having some materials handed out. There was not an opportunity advertised in the public hearing or with the documents to submit written comments as is required. Once he hands those out, or I can begin. My name is Pamela Rogers. I am here tonight on two parties' benefit. Constant Kim, who is a party of interest at 6331 Goat Hollow Road, is out of the country. She had originally planned on being here for the earlier date, which was scheduled for July 8th. And I have interest for our family farm here in Morrisville. In the document you have, to conserve time,
What was your second comment?
I have here as interest with our family farm in Morgan County. So I am here representing,
This,
yes, it
on-
does, yes, sir, it does pertain to this petition. And I'm going to ask you to, yes, sir?
The farm's way up in Madison Township.
Yes, sir. There is an interest, you have a party of interest in those parties who are filing an objection and in opposition. As a neighbor who I am representing, they are a party of interest. As myself, who has interest in our family farm in Morgan County, these matters of conservation, of preservation of our environmental, they are a countywide.
Talk about this petition.
I am, sir.
But
That is what I'm.
I see no relation to your farm.
Okay, that is fine, sir, but I am.
You're welcome to talk about this petition, okay?
Yes, sir. And as a person of interest in
I'm
Morgan
hitting your
County.
Your timer's going. You got 2 minutes and 12 seconds left.
Okay,
Just
sir,
let me know.
no, my time hasn't started yet.
Yes,
I
it
have
has.
questions.
No, she shut it off.
Okay, so please start at number 4B. This petition is ineligible to be filed as a minor plat. I want to draw your attention to the fact that the initial application was made for 55.4 acres. Immediately after the petition was made, and I have given you each reference and document, this petition, this particular parcel was subdivided. It is not indicated on the staff report. The subdivision is a split. By the split and by the UDO, this is a exempt subdivision. Once an exempt subdivision is filed and processed, it may not be split again. I provided you with a copy of the UDO that explains, that's Exhibit 8, page 141, that identifies that if a split occurs, that in order for a minor subdivision or any subdivision to then occur on the parent property, it must be filed as a major subdivision. For a major subdivision to be filed, then a petition for a rezone must be done first. The proof of this is included in the documentation from the auditor's office that shows the timeline as to what occurred. The public notice that went out, your letter is included, shows that this is for 55 acres. Then this was changed down to 40-plus acres. Lot 1, advertised as 6.782 acres, is the split, which is coming off of Robb Hill Road.
30 seconds.
The board here is not required to make a determination tonight. I'm requesting that you please review the information first before making a determination, and I do have 5 minutes, not 3.
No, you have 3. You have 13 seconds left.
Ma'am,
Standards must ensure that
You
the,
have 8 seconds.
the public
7.
health, safety, and welfare of the county and the standards have not been demonstrated, therefore this cannot be approved, and it is your obligation to please review the information first, as the county would not allow a prior submission of these documents to be made.
Time is up.
Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions? Ms. Rogers? Courtney Stanton? Stanton? I pronounce that right, Stanton?
Yeah. If you don't mind to pull it down to you, thank you.
Go ahead.
I just had questions, wanted to know where the plan was to put the septic systems, and there is city water there, so wanted to know why they're doing wells.
I didn't
We
understand.
didn't, pull that down, that mic is not working good at all.
Where the plan is to put the septic systems, no perk tests have been completed, and there is city water, why they're planning to do wells.
There's city water, that was my question, is there city water?
Yeah,
Is that-
Hill water.
Is that hill that's down in there? Okay. Well, we'll have to ask the petitioner, because we don't know.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Jeremy Bailey, person of interest, would you like to speak? You'll pass? Mark Bailey, would you like to speak again? You're good? That's all we have down. Mr. Browning, would you like a rebuttal? Would you like a rebuttal?
Can you talk directly into the mic for me? Good
Oh,
luck.
yeah. No, I get it, I get it. Let's see.
Yeah, they can hold it.
Issues of having to do with the exception that is not permitted to be part of the major subdivision. We were assured by planning.
Would you pull it out and just hold it? Maybe it'll work.
Is it still
better.
too quiet?
Yeah, you're still not in it.
Pull
I'm
it
just
out and
not
hold-
wanting to talk loud, I
You can
guess.
pull the mic out and hold it.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
we'll hear you better.
Be a rock star.
There you go. You can sing us a song, right?
Okay, how's this? Is this
Yeah.
good? All right, I will try to remember. All right, now concerning the fact that it is considered exempt, We spoke with the planning commission. We were told that there was a one lot exception required, and that was approved, and then the 6 lot was approved after that. And so therefore, what is currently out there now is what has been set up for approval. I'm sorry, minor plat, I'm sorry, not exempt, minor plat. I apologize for the terminology. In terms of the dam being an issue, I do understand if the dam breaks, the dam breaks. The whole idea is that to make sure that if a house does get constructed, it does not get constructed in an area where the dam breaking would cause loss of life. Obviously, we don't want that. If the inundation worksheet that we were looking at earlier, the east edge of that shaded area on there is basically where the existing road is now. So kind of a shorthand way to look at it would be that same elevation on the other side of the valley. As long as you're higher than the road, roughly, on the other side of the valley, you're kind of guaranteed to be outside of the inundation zone based on their calculations as shown on the map. So while I understand the concern about the inundation, and I understand the concern about the history of the dam and taking care of it and everything like that, I don't think it really reflects on whether or not we can put houses on that property. So in terms of the septic system, I cannot speak to that personally myself. I believe Mr. Parrish could potentially do that.
Not septic, it was water.
I'm sorry.
The water.
She asked where the septics were going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
I have to be honest with you, I believe that the city water is not is on Goat Hollow Road itself. It is not going to run up Goat Hollow. That was the intention. That's the reason why, and not the expense of installing a water main down the easement road.
It comes down so far down Goat Hollow Road, Hill Water does.
Okay, you mean up from,
From Red Day Road, it comes south on Goat Holler,
okay,
about 2/3 of the way down the road.
all right. Well, anyway, but that's the reason why. It's just the expense of running a water main for 6 properties. It's actually cheaper to drill wells, so. So I believe that covers it. If there are any other questions, I'm available.
The one question Mr. Bailey had was about alternate access in. There's no 2 entrances into the property, just the one, is that correct?
Yeah, well, there's only one entrance into Mr. Bailey's property.
I know, that was a question you had, though.
Well, I mean, what of it? I mean, yes, that is the only one I know of, is the easement that runs up through there. There was a former property, at one point earlier, there was a small, the larger piece had a piece that touched Rob Hill Road, but it's no longer part of the property.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Is the 200-foot setback that you're proposing on all 6 parcels or just
No,
the
it would
west?
just be the ones on the
western
west
4?
side of the road. Yeah, the ones on the east side of the road, if we took 200 feet, it'd take up
That's
half
what
a
I-
lot, yeah, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Parker, can you come up to the mic, please? Can you come up to the, you got a mic? You can just use that one.
Is it working? Okay, yes.
Could you explain the minor plat, the question that Ms. Rogers brought up?
So there was an exempt split that came off of it, and then there's a remnant that's left that can be minor platted. So we've got innumerable ones of these all over the county. So I'm not really sure what she's referencing.
Split was, and then was prior? Is that what you
Yes.
said? Okay. Everybody understand what she's saying on that? Yeah, okay, thank you. I just wanted you to address it. All right, this closes our public portion of the hearing. Discussion. You look at the recommendations from Ms. Parker. She has several on there. And all the paperwork I got. You got yours there?
What is it you're looking for? I can help you.
The recommendations.
Oh, here.
Mine's here in my paperwork somewhere. Has everyone had a chance to read those recommendations? Recommendation says, the future land use map identifies this area as appropriate for environmentally sensitive development, which can include residential. The size of the lots range from 6 to 9 acres, which is significant size. Then the required 2-acre minimum. If the Plan Commission votes to approve the minor plat, staff has 2 recommendations. Require language on the plat that clearly indicates those lots are downstream of a high-hazard dam. And 2, the requirement of the front yard setback buffers on the plat prohibits structures from being located in the path of the inundation. So her recommendation is that the inundation path is totally out. You got to show it on the plat and note on the plat that it's inundation of a high-hazard dam. Open for discussion.
It seems that even in the article that the young lady presented about 25 feet, we've exceeded that by up to 33 feet. I don't worry about natural flooding too much. If the dam breaks, that's different. But they're talking to my way interpretation. You know, if the creek runs a little higher and the water escapes from their impoundment, I've lived with that, and I don't worry too much about it. It seems like with that 200-foot setback, 33 feet high above this waterway, I wouldn't be too worried about living there, particularly if they would announce this when they sold those lots as to there being a high hazard dam there, one of 19, I believe, in the county, they said. You know, everything they propose seems pretty logical, and I don't see why we should not approve this. That's all I've got to say.
Well, I don't think we ought to approve it because it's a high-traffic area. Goat haulers should become alive. There's a curve right there before we get that entrance to the end of the property. I've come on that bus many times. I've drove that route for 37 years. I got hit 3 or 4 times on that curve right there. And people are flying up through there now, and there's not very much to the north. There's not very much clearance coming to the south on that driveway right there. So I think it's kind of a road hazard coming out there with new traffic coming in there. And it's just not a good place to build houses back in there because it's going to be just, it's not good. I mean, you guys can pass it, but it's not good for the environment of the area right in there because what it contains. And if it comes a flash flood, all those people that build houses in there's going to be money out of their pocket to repair stuff that nobody tells them about before that.
What you're saying, Bill, is that I can never do anything with my property because there's 2 curves in the road in front of my house. That's not, to my way of thinking, logical.
Well, throw that in there with that, and besides all that flooding and the dam back there, and everybody, and that's coming now, that's water's coming from way up on Red Day Road. It's gonna come about a half
My
a mile,
property
if not
too, and I'm
further.
not too worried.
It's gonna come over half a mile down the road there, and it's gonna do a lot of damage when it gets down there, because there's nothing gonna be in slowing that water down coming over that dam. And then people's gonna have to repair that dam eventually if it comes down through there, because the weather's changing, we can't predict what it's gonna be in the future. So we're gonna put a lot of load on the dam owners to repair that dam, and now I'm quite sure the people downhill from that wanna sue because the dam wasn't maintained to their specifications on all that water being not slowed down before it gets to that dam. I mean, that's just common sense right there, it's gonna happen. So you're wanting to put. Beg pardon? Well, I just think that it doesn't need to be approved. That's my personal opinion, because I've lived up there and seen all that for years. and
Okay.
you guys can do what you want to.
And my question would be for Mr. Peden on case law, on if dams do break and you've done everything, how does that usually end up? If you've done all your inspections, and are you still liable? Is there anything that can be done ahead of time? Okay. But is there any legal paper that could be signed by the people buying a lot that says, Mhm. Okay, thank you.
I guess to go on Jason's, is there anything we can add to a plat? Because people unfortunately don't pay attention. Adequate notice that they are buying a piece of property if this goes through, that you can have damage to your drive, your power, you may lose power, you may not be able to get out for a few days. I mean, I've seen it too many times on a plat, and then people just go right over it and don't even, you know, at closing, they don't even discuss it with people. I agree. And I think it's a big issue because, you know, that driveway can be gone, and then you have to rebuild it totally. Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're discussing if we want to take a single parcel and make it 6 parcels. We're not guaranteeing that anybody's gonna buy a parcel or build a house. That's a little bit of buyer beware. I think our job of ensuring the plat dictates the potential hazard upstream as well as these additional setbacks does everything that I feel we would have to do to provide people the notice that you're buying a piece of property that has a hazard, and it's not just these 6 potential lots. There's a lot more downstream of this dam that are affected, that are already there.
There's
Probably in a more dangerous location than what these 6 would be with the restrictions that we may put on this.
So one of Ms. Parker's recommendations is that we require the commissioner to come back to the Plan Commission and present the revisions before signing off on the plat, so we could see the plat language before we actually approve this, which I think is probably prudent in this case. Okay.
I would agree with that. We don't have the language, and
We
I
don't
think
have
it
the
needs to
language.
be,
Yeah,
Needs to come back to us with the language.
yeah, I think we need to see what they're gonna put on the plat that talks about the lots being downstream and the setbacks and those sorts of things, so that, you know, a buyer, when they see the language on the plat, is fully informed of the potential hazard they're buying into.
And that's the main thing I want to make sure these people, because I've seen it so many times, that they pay no attention to what's on that plat, they pay no attention to floodplains, they pay no attention to creeks or rivers. And then they're surprised when they get flooded out or something happens. I just want to make sure these people aren't caught off guard. Not saying you don't keep your dam up, because I think you do. I think you do a great job. But just, in '08, I saw places that flooded and dams busted out I thought would never bust out.
That's true.
So
That was true.
water does crazy things, and it can be here tomorrow. We don't know. And I just want, if this does go through, I want to make sure it's someplace where these people can go back to, and before they buy it, they know that it's there.
Can we add it not to just be in the fine print that people skim over, but also physically on the plat where we can see it visually? Because the creek's not even on the plat.
Then put it on the plat? It would have to be on the plat, exactly what Burke designed, has done, and it'll be on each lot. So,
In the notes.
in the notes also.
Just a question. As a county surveyor and as a property owner, I have hills and hollows. And should I want to sell my property, I could build a wonderful dam 2 years from now, 3 years from now. And there's no restrictions on me doing this if I do it legally. So I would then put a great deal more water above all the people that are below my existing dam right now. We seem to be, I won't say worried about things that might or might not happen. And I was very satisfied with the 200-foot setback from the water flow, 33 feet above it, things like that. But above this, they could build another dam tomorrow. And we're worried about this dam. If that dam fails and impacts that dam, I'm certainly sure that a lot of lawyers would make a lot of money on that, but no offense, Mr. Peden. But we're not thinking that what we could do or what we could have. I mean, my dam would probably be, you make it 20 feet, and then nobody checks to see if you ever added height to your overflow valve. They've never checked mine. So we're worried about what's there right now, and I think that's proper of us, but I think when you meet everything that they call for, and the one article says 25 feet, they're higher than 25 feet, I see no reason why we should not approve this with everything that they've done if they live up to what they gave us, 200-foot back, 33 feet high. Yeah, there's hazards in this world, but we can do as good as we can to prepare for it, but I'm more worried about the country getting dry than I am getting wet. I think we're putting too much into this when they've already met all the requirements that, to my way of thinking, are common sense.
Yeah, I think that's probably what we need to do.
Any other discussion? If not, I'll call for a motion of any type.
I make a motion to deny this development. There's too many unanswered questions, and we don't know the future, and we just got to protect, do some protection, even though it's free country, we still got to do some protection, protect the people that don't pay any attention to what they're buying. And I'm quite sure nobody's going to tell them it's going to flood and knock out their driveways and everything else. They try to sell the property.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second to Mr. Mitchell's motion? All right, motion dies, lack a second. Do we have any other motions?
I would move that we, lost my paper I've got here.
MIP 24-05, Bill.
MIP 24-05, to approve the 6-lot minor plat request and approve the plat with conditions.
Just say staff recommendation.
The staff recommendations. The future land use map in this area is appropriate for environmental sensitive development, which can include residential. The size of lots range from 6 to 9 acres, which is significantly larger than the required 2-acre minimum. If the Planning Commission votes to approve the minor plat, staff has 2 recommendations. 1, require language in the plat that clearly indicates these lots are downstream of a high hazard dam. And 2, require a front yard setback buffer on the plat prohibiting structures from being located in the path in the nation. The commission also requires the subdivision to come back to the planning commission and present the revisions before signing off on the plot. And that is a minimum of 33 feet high above that area and a 200-foot setback from that.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Justin seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
Brian, did you vote?
No. No.
A no? Okay, Brian's a no. Got it? All right, motion carries. You will have to get that plat back to us. We will not sign it until we're okay with the wording on there and the easements on there.
I know the other two, the lady who said it's his son. Was her son. And he said there was only one house up there. So does he or does he not live there? I was confused by that. Not that it makes a hill of things.
Thank you.
But I couldn't figure that out. I mean, I get where he has an interest in it, but on the other hand, I couldn't figure out. if it
Just
is.
thank you. No, just thank you. Just thank you for standing up. Just thank you for standing up. Tell all you want.
Did you want to let Mark speak?
You can speak, go ahead.
Oh, I have no report to give you on anything.
Under my report, I just wanted to let you know that,
Right through here.
Hey, Bill. Hang on a second, Laura's
Laura's talking.
just real quick, we'll let you go, that I'm going to be bringing to you a rezone. I don't know if you're familiar with the Green Meadows tract subdivision that's out in, what township is it?
Green Township.
Green Township.
Green Township?
Green
Yeah.
Meadows subdivision off of Egbert Road.
Yeah, Egbert, yes, thank you. So it's similar to what we did with the subdivision up on Lincoln Hill that had smaller lots and needed to be rezoned from ag. Same sort of situation here, where we've determined that it's in the best interest of the neighborhood to change that zoning to residential. So I would like the Plan Commission to initiate that rezoning so that we can make that change for the neighborhood.
Yeah, I requested that because we had a builder come in and that subdivision come in when there was no zoning at all. And so we've been building houses out there for years with minimum side yards like a subdivision, but it's zoned ag, so it throws into 25-foot side yards. The lots aren't big enough to handle that 25-foot side yards. They're just not. And Laura and I talked about it, and we've thought the best route to go is to rezone that entire subdivision, because there's still 5 or 6 lots left. And that way, each person won't have to come in and go to BZA. We can just take care of it now.
It'll also help them if they have existing homes, have accessory structures that they want to build, so that they're meeting residential setback requirements versus agricultural, which are significant as well.
It just corrects one to slip through not slip through the cracks, but it's just one of those things when we didn't have zoning and had the tract developments that we're still paying for, so.
So if that's okay, I would like a consensus to move that forward and initiate that rezone.
Do we have a consensus? Let her move that forward?
Sure,
Okay.
makes sense.
Thank you.
How's we got any lawsuits at all coming up? None? Are we planning any lawsuits?
You're looking for
Anybody can sue anybody.
No, I'm just curious.
I have a question, actually. When people are coming up here and giving us stacks of paper during the meeting that have not been vetted by our planning commission,
It's not a,
I've got some problems with that. And, I mean, we need to come up with either they need to be given before time.
yeah, it needs to be brought up in front. I agree with you.
I mean, and even,
You don't
I
have
mean,
time to read these when
even
they
with
hand
the
it to us.
engineer, I'd rather him, before the meeting start, come up, give us our stuff, so when we're in the meeting, we can just go instead of him stand up here and going through and handing each one of us a paper. I don't like that.
I agree with you. I mean, you don't have, they hand it to you and then they start talking, and you can't
Yeah,
go
they start
through
talking, and I mean, and I don't know what are we supposed to do with that? I mean, do we take that as the truth? Or, yeah. Yeah.
No, but
Okay.
look what we got tonight. You couldn't possibly digest,
No way.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for the plan, I mean, the BZA, I understand. If they hand me something, that is binding that it is the truth. But here, they don't take an oath, so I don't know what they're handing me.
Well, for fact, one thing come from Boone County Drainage Board.
It did, I saw that. And I think what Larison.
It doesn't
handed
pertain to
was a
us,
duplicate
so.
of the paper we already
Yeah, he always hands us the printouts that we already have.
So I don't know if you have any ideas, or if the board wants to think about it, maybe how we want to handle these in the future, because it's getting a little ridiculous that we're getting handed a stack of stuff as they're talking.
Some of that's my fault because I have them hold to their information until they're called up, because you may not want to accept it. But then if there's several things at your desk, because the first petitioner could have had stuff at your desk as well as the second. And then I worry that it gets. in with-
Confusing.
Well, and just mixed in with other papers and it's not available. And,
Yeah.
I mean, we could change the rules where they have to have everything in by a certain deadline. And,
I think we should. I mean, if they want to present us any type of paperwork, it should be ahead of time, so we all have time to see it. Are we allowed to do that?
Allowed in a public hearing?
Do what?
I didn't know if that's allowed in a public hearing.
Is
I
that
mean,
allowed in a public
the petitioner should have all their stuff to you, but somebody that's coming in complaint, I don't
I don't
know.
know.
Yeah, I don't know about that either. That's true. It's a good point.
I mean, you're going to have remonstrators that are going to bring you handouts because they're not going to bring them to us first. So like Mr. Peden said, you give it the weight that you want to give it. Arrive earlier to the meeting, and I can try and have everything assembled before, so you have time to read it.
It's okay. I just didn't know if there was a solution, or if this was, I mean, why we allow them even to do it hardly. I mean, they're allowed to speak. I don't need some paper that they got off Google and read it. I mean, I don't need that.
The one article that she passed out didn't identify the man other than by his name, passing it out as information to us that it's accurate. I don't know who the guy was, didn't have engineering degrees or anything like that he indicated, so it could just be opinion.
Right, and that goes back again to you assign the kind of weight and credibility to it that you think it deserves.
Sorry to stir the hornet nest.
No, that's fine.
No, I agree with you. It's frustrating getting those papers thrown at us.
I'll explore that a little bit and see what I can find out that others do. I know most take paperwork even at the meeting, but I'll see if there's any way to put in some deadlines.
At least for the petitioners, because the plat was different from what we received in our packet, from the first one or whichever one it was. So to look at the changes and listen at the same time is hard to do.
Yeah, especially the petitioner. Those plats ought to be in ahead of time.
Yeah, yeah, like the vacate and replat, that was changed, and I just saw it for the first time tonight.
Anything else?
for your comments and your patience.
142 trees died for this paperwork.
At least that many.
I did like that.
Surveyor's office for that one. And anytime you guys, if you like bigger copies of the plats, call me and we'll make you copies. I've got, I can make the large copies. I complain about it all the time because I can't see it.
It's all right, it's wrong, but it's a little bad up here.
Warm-up meeting for our next one.
That made no sense to me, the 200 feet off of the road.
Unless you have that up against the grading plan, like,
Yeah.
where's 200 feet fall in
We
the
have no idea
inundation?
where that's gonna fall.
Put the limits of this. All right, move to adjourn.
Meeting is August 12th.
Adjourn.
Second. Keep talking later.
Adjourn. Did you get that? I didn't call for it, but we're adjourned. Hey, thanks, guys.
And so did someone down there seconded as well.
Somebody